All right, let's talk about the high-stakes world of international business, where one tiny oversight, one detail you miss, can lead to some, well, let's just say some very expensive surprises.
So imagine this, right? Your company's killing it. You're expanding, taking on projects in new countries. Everything is going great. And then, bam, out of the blue, you get a massive tax bill from a country where you don't even have an office. How on earth is that even possible?
Well, the reason is usually that you've stumbled over an invisible tax tripwire. It's a concept called permanent establishment, or PE for short. And honestly, if you're doing any business across borders, understanding this is absolutely non-negotiable. So let's figure out what this tripwire is and how to avoid it. So what exactly is this role? What does it mean to have a taxable presence somewhere else?
Okay, so the official definition is a fixed place of business. At its heart, it's pretty simple. If you set up a stable base of operations in another country, that country gets the right to tax the profits you make there. It's kind of like the official line in the sand that says, hey, you're not just visiting, you're doing business here.
And that fixed place can be a lot of things. Of course, you've got the obvious stuff, an office, a factory, a warehouse. But look at that last one. A PE can also be a person. If you have a local agent who is regularly signing contracts in your name, that can be enough to trigger it. We're definitely coming back to that idea because it's a big one. And here's why this all matters. This isn't just a bunch of boring tax jargon. This has real, cold, hard cash implications. If a country decides you have a PE, they can legally tax the profits you generate from your activities in that country. And trust me, getting this wrong is a huge headache. You could end up being taxed on the very same income by two different countries. That's called double taxation. Or find yourself tangled up in some really messy and expensive legal fights. It's no joke. So to make sure you don't step on that tripwire, you've got to know what you're looking for. There are basically three main ways a permanent establishment can be created. First up, you've got the fixed place of business PE. This is the classic, the one everyone thinks of. You have a physical, stable location where you do your business. An office, a workshop, whatever. It's the most straightforward type of PE. Pretty easy to spot. Okay, the second type is where it gets a lot more subtle. This is the agent PE. It's not about property, it's about people. Now, if you have a dependent agent, someone who's essentially acting on your behalf, and this is the key, has the power to finalize contracts for you, that can create a PE. But if you're just using an independent agent, like a broker who works for lots of different companies, you're usually in the clear. The real difference maker is who has the authority to sign on the dotted line. And then there's this one, which is really catching up to our modern service-based economy. It's the service PE. For businesses like consulting or IT services, this is huge. Even if you have zero office space, no agents signing deals, if your people are physically in another country providing services for more than 183 days, that's roughly 6 months. Inside of a year, you can trigger a PE. That number, 183 days, you gotta remember that one. Okay, that's enough theory. It makes a lot more sense when you see how it actually works. So let's run through a couple of quick scenarios to make these rules totally clear. Scenario 1. You've got a consulting firm based in the US. They send a team of employees to Spain for a few big projects. They don't rent an office, they just work out of their hotel rooms and the client site. But when you add it all up, their team was in Spain for a total of 200 days that year. So let's look at the clock. The projects start and the days start counting up. Then, right around the 6-month mark, they hit it. They've crossed that 183-day line in the sand we just talked about. By the time they hit 200 days, they are well and truly over the limit. So what happens? They've created a service PE. No office, no factory. Didn't matter. They were there for too long. That tripwire was triggered, and now Spain has the legal right to tax the profits that the US firm made from all that work. Okay, scenario number 2. Let's say a Canadian tech startup wants to break into the Italian market. They hire a local sales agent in Italy. This person is great. They find leads, they negotiate deals, but, and this is the important part, the agent can't actually sign the final contract. Every single deal has to be sent back to the head office in Canada for the final signature. So what do you think? Based on what we've talked about, has this company created a permanent establishment in Italy? And the answer is no, they haven't. Why? It's all about that authority.
Because the agent doesn't have the power to finalize the deal, they don't meet the test for a dependent agent. The Canadian company was smart about how they structured this.
But let's just change one little thing. What if the startup decides, to make things more efficient, they're going to let the agent in Italy sign the contracts on the spot? Well, in that case, absolutely yes. That one simple change flips the switch. The agent is now a dependent agent. That PE tripwire is triggered, and boom, the Canadian company now has a taxable presence in Italy. It just goes to show you how much these small operational details really, really matter.
All right, so now that you see how this works and what the risks are, let's talk about what you can do. Here's your strategic playbook for managing all of this proactively.
You can just run through this simple checklist for your own business. First, ask yourself, where are we actually operating? Not just your headquarters, but everywhere. Second, who is acting for us in those countries? Employees, agents, contractors? And third, what is our actual footprint? Look at your office space, your team's travel schedules, and who has the power to make deals.
The biggest takeaway from all of this is that awareness is really your best weapon. By just making it a habit to regularly review your contracts, what your employees are doing, and where they're traveling, you can stay ahead of these issues. It's how you operate globally with confidence instead of just hoping for the best.
So, I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. Is it possible your global operations are accidentally creating a tax problem you don't even know exists yet? Answering that question is the first step to truly mastering your international strategy. Thanks for joining me.